However, it wasn't just the food that drew people in. There was something magical about this place. Men, in particular, seemed enchanted by Madame Cash Lady's presence. They lingered long after their meals, offering to help with chores, just for a chance to spend more time there. They washed plates, mopped the floor, and ran errands, all under Ogbone's watchful eyes. Once upon a time, in a small village of Okobo, nestled between rolling hills and fertile plains, there lived a woman named Ogbone. The villagers affectionately called her Madame Cash Lady, a nickname she earned from her shrewd business sense and knack for making money. Madame Cash Lady was a robust woman in her 40s with a hearty laugh that could fill a room and a presence that commanded attention. Despite her successes and her generous heart, there was one thing Madame Cash Lady lacked: a man by her side. Growing up, Ogbone had always been a strong-willed and fiercely independent woman. Her assertive nature and sharp tongue made her a formidable presence, but they also kept potential suitors at bay. While her friends and relations found love and settled down, Ogbone's brass demeanor and unwillingness to compromise led many men to distance themselves from her. In her youth, she dismissed marriage proposals with a wave of her hand, believing that she had all the time in the world. As the years passed, Ogbone watched her friends marry and start families. Her childhood playmates were now mothers and grandmothers, sharing stories of their children and grandchildren, while Ogbone remained alone. The one confident and vibrant young woman found herself feeling increasingly isolated and lonely. The empty evenings and quiet nights grew unbearable, and the laughter of her friends became a painful reminder of what she lacked. Despite her success in business, Madame Cash Lady's heart ached with a longing she couldn't satisfy. She tried to fill the void with work, pouring her energy into her enterprise, but it wasn't enough. The loneliness gnawed at her, a constant companion in her otherwise full life. One by one, the men of Okobo settled down with women who were kinder, gentler, and more accommodating. Ogbone's reputation for being ill-mannered and difficult preceded her, making it hard for her to find a suitor. She had built walls around her heart, and now these walls kept everyone out. The village gossip was that no man could tame the fiery Ogbone, and this only added to her isolation. One crisp morning, after another sleepless night spent in solitude, Ogbone made a decision that would change the course of her life. She awoke with a resolve she hadn't felt in years. She would leave Okobo, the village that had witnessed her triumphs and her loneliness, and find a new beginning elsewhere, perhaps in a different place, away from the shadow of the past. She could start anew and find a companionship she could desperately crave. With a heavy heart but a determined spirit, Madame Cash Lady packed her bags. She took only what she needed, leaving behind the trappings of her successful business. As she walked through the village for what she found, she thought might be the last time. She was met with curious glances and whispered conversations. The villagers of Okobo wondered where she was going and why, but Ogbone kept her reasons to herself. She paused at the edge of the village, taking one last glance at the place that had been her home for so many years. With a deep breath, she turned and walked away, the sound of her footsteps fading into the distance. The villagers watched her go, puzzled by her sudden departure but unaware of the deep loneliness that had driven her to leave. Madam Cash Lady's departure left a void in Ukobo, but it was sparked a flurry of speculation. What had driven the indomitable Ogbonne to leave? Where was she going, and what could she find there? These questions lingered in the minds of the villagers as they returned to their daily routines. But for Ogbonne, the journey was just the beginning. She hoped that somewhere beyond the familiar hills of Ukobo, she would find a happiness and companionship that had eluded her for so long. Months passed and the village of Ukobo gradually adjusted to the absence of Madam Cash Lady. Life went on, but there was a noticeable void where Ogbonne's presence had once been felt. Her departure had left villagers with more questions than answers, and speculation ran rampant. Some said she had gone to find a husband. Others whispered about her secret business venture in faraway land. On one sunny afternoon, just as the villagers had begun to accept that she might never return, Madam Cash Lady reappeared. She walked into Ukobo with a confident stride, her eyes gleaming with an excitement that hadn't been there before. Her return was sudden and unexpected as her departure, and it set the village abuzz with curiosity and also speculation. Ogbonne's transformation was immediately apparent. She seemed rejuvenated with a vibrant energy that was impossible to ignore. Her usual stern expression had softened, replaced by a warm smile that hinted at newfound contentment. She moved with a purpose, her head held high, as if she had discovered a secret that had changed her life. The villagers quickly gathered around her, eager to hear about her adventures. Madam Cash Lady, always the storyteller, took her time savoring their attention. She spoke of distant land and bustling markets of people she had met and places she had seen. But the heart of her tale revolved around a grand new plan she had devised. "I have seen many things, my friends," she began. "I've learned recipes from the finest chefs and observed the most successful businesses. And now I've come back to Ukobo with a vision to open a restaurant that will be the pride of our village." The announcement took everyone by surprise. Ukobo had never seen a restaurant like the one Ogbonne described. She spoke of a place where people could gather, eat delicious food, and enjoy each other's company. It would be more than just a place to eat. It would be a hub of social activity and community spirit. Despite their initial shock, the villagers were intrigued by the idea. Madam Cash Lady had always been a savvy businesswoman, and if everyone could pull off such an ambitious project, it was her. They watched in awe as she set to work, her determination evident in every move she made. Ogbonne wasted no time in getting started. She secured a prime location in the heart of the village and began renovating immediately. Her energy was infectious, and soon many of the villagers found themselves caught up in her enthusiasm. Carpenters, painters, and laborers volunteered their time, eager to be part of something new and exciting. As the building took shape, Ogbonne's vision became clearer. The restaurant would be a welcoming space with bright colors and comfortable seating. She designed an open kitchen so that everyone could see the food being prepared, adding a sense of transparency and trust. The menu would feature a mix of traditional Ukobo dishes and new recipes she had learned during her travels, blending the familiar with the exotic. The day of the grand opening finally arrived, and the entire village gathered in anticipation. A large banner hung over the entrance, proudly displaying the restaurant's name, Madam Cash Lady's Delights. The aroma of the delicious food wafted through the air. drawing people in like a magnet. The restaurant was an immediate success. Men, women, and children flocked to Madam Cash Lady's delight, eager to taste the food and experience the vibrant atmosphere. Ogbonne greeted each guest with a smile, her heart swelling with pride as she watched her dream come to life. However, it wasn't just the food that drew people in. There was something magical about the place. Men, in particular, seemed enchanted by Madam Cash Lady's presence. They lingered long after their meals to help with chores just for a chance to spend more time there. They washed plates, mopped the floors, and ran errands, all under Ogbonne's watchful eyes. The women of Ukobo quickly noticed the change in their husbands. Many of them stopped eating at home, choosing instead to dine at the restaurant. Some even started sleeping there, unable to tear themselves away from Madam Cash Lady's captivating charm. As weeks turned into months, the restaurant continued to thrive. Ogbonne's transformation from a lonely, embittered woman into a beloved community figure was complete. But behind her success lay a deeper, darker secret, one that would soon come to light and shake the village of Ukobo to its core. These hypnotized men started spending more and more time there, so much that they began to pool their resources together to build a large motel next to the restaurant. The idea was to have a place where they could all lodge and live together, all under the watchful eyes of Madam Cash Lady. Madam Cash Lady encouraged the project, her charm and influence over the men growing stronger each day. Her dream of having her own man seemed within reach, and she had an eye on a particular man called Obinna, a handsome, hardworking man with a gentle demeanor. Plans for their wedding were soon set in motion. The villagers were in shock. However, the women of Ukobo were deeply troubled. They saw their husbands drifting farther away, ensnared by Ogbonne's spell. The once vibrant homes were now filled with emptiness and sorrow. Determined to uncover the truth behind Madam Cash Lady's influence, they banded together and decided to take action. One evening, while the men were at the restaurant, the women gathered in the village square. They spoke in hushed tones, sharing their observations and fear. It was clear to them that something unnatural was at play. The women resolved to seek answers from the village wise elder, Mama Eke, who was known for her knowledge of the spiritual world. Mama Eke welcomed the women into her humble home with her wrinkled face and piercing eyes. She listened intently to their concerns. After a long silence, she spoke. "There is a dark power at work here," Mama Eke said. Mama Cash Lady had used charms and spells to bind the men to her will. To break this enchantment, you must pray fervently and offer sacrifices to the gods. Only then can the men be freed from her grasp. The women left Mama Eke's house with a renewed sense of purpose. They decided to follow her advice and began a period of intense prayer and fasting. They offered sacrifices at the village shrine, praying day and night for their husband's release from the spell. As the day passed, the women grew weaker from their fasting, but their resolve remained strong. Their prayers echoed through the village, a constant plea for divine intervention. Their faith was unwavering and their unity unbreakable. Meanwhile, the construction of the motel continued. The men worked tirelessly, driven by an inexplicable desire to please Madam Cash Lady. They discussed plans for the wedding, each contributing their share to make it a grand event. Obinna, under the deepest spell, was particularly eager, his mind completely clouded by Ogbone's influence. One night, as the women prayed fervently at the shrine, a powerful storm descended upon Ukobo, thunder rumbled, and lightning flashed, illuminating the village in airy bursts. The wind howled through the trees, carrying the women's prayers to the heavens. At the height of the storm, a brilliant flash of lightning struck the shrine, and a deafening clap of thunder followed. The women were thrown to the ground, but as they picked themselves up, they felt a strange calm washed over them. The storm had passed as quickly as it had arrived. The next morning, the men of Ukobo awoke with a start. It was as if a heavy fog had lifted from their minds. They looked around in confusion, realizing they were in a half-built motels. Memories of their actions over the past months flooded back, and shame and regret filled their hearts. Obinna, the most affected, was the first to return home. He knelt to his knees before his wife, begging for forgiveness. One by one, the other men followed, their hearts heavy with remorse. Madam Cash Lady, seeing that her spell had been broken, knew her time was up. She gathered the villagers and with tears in her eyes confessed to everything. She admitted that her loneliness and desperation had driven her to use dark magic to manipulate the men, hoping to find a husband among them. The village was in an uproar. The village of Ukobo called for an emergency meeting with the elders. After much deliberation, it was decided that Madam Cash Lady would be banished from the village for her deceit and manipulation. Her restaurant was to be closed and the half-built motel dismantled. With heavy hearts, the villagers watched as Madam Cash Lady left Ukobo for the second time. This time, her departure was marked by shame and regret rather than curiosity. The women of Ukobo, though weary from their ordeal, felt a sense of victory and relief. Their prayers had been answered and their husbands had returned. The moral of this story is that no matter what, no matter the stage we are in life, we should always have it in our hearts that our time will come. Our time will surely come. Everyone has their time. Our time will come. And when that time comes, your dreams will come true. It also teaches us that desperation is bad. And it also teaches us that contentment is the key in every area of our life. Thank you so much, my viewers, for watching. I implore you to subscribe, share, like, and turn on the notification bell so as to be notified whenever I upload another interesting, mind-blowing African folktale story. Thanks for watching and God bless you. Bye.